Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba believed he was beyond reach. From a luxury residence on the coast of Lomé, he lived under the assumption that exile meant immunity. He recorded conversations, tracked rivals, and handled money in cash, convinced that distance would shield him from consequences. That belief collapsed in mid-January 2026. Security forces loyal to the Togolese state arrived at his residence without warning. The former president of Burkina Faso was detained, restrained, and placed on a flight bound for Ouagadougou. Within hours of the aircraft landing, diplomatic channels across West Africa became active. This was not viewed as an ordinary arrest. It was widely interpreted as a signal. To understand why, it is necessary to go back to January 2022. Damiba seized power by removing the elected president, Roch-Marc Christian Kabore. His justification centered on insecurity and the growing threat posed by armed extremist groups. The military leadership supported the move, and France maintained a cautious but accepting posture. Less than a year later, another change occurred. In September 2022, Captain Ibrahim led a second takeover, removing Damiba from office. Damiba fled the country and settled in Togo, where he lived openly and comfortably. Publicly, he presented himself as retired from politics. According to Burkina authorities, that narrative was false. For nearly 3 years, the government in Ouagadougou alleged that Damiba remained actively involved in destabilization efforts from abroad. These claims included accusations of coordinating armed attacks, financing coup attempts, and maintaining links with extremist groups. For a long time, many observers dismissed these statements as political rhetoric. That perception began to change when arrests were made inside Burkina Faso. Intelligence services detained several individuals accused of acting as informants. During questioning, some cooperated with investigators. They described a network involving encrypted communications, cash transfers routed through neighboring countries, and regular reporting on military and political developments. Crucially, authorities recovered audio and video recordings made by Damiba himself, allegedly as a safeguard against betrayal. Those recordings became central to the investigation. Court proceedings in 2023 added further context. One former minister associated with Damiba's administration received an 11-year sentence for embezzling approximately $1.8 million. Another senior official, previously active under both the Kabore and Damiba governments, was found to have diverted public funds over an extended period. When Damiba was removed from power in 2022, investigators reported discovering dozens of high-end vehicles, including luxury SUVs, acquired using state resources. Prosecutors later alleged that some of these assets were distributed to personal associates while frontline soldiers and civil servants faced shortages. Testimony from the former head of the National Lottery deepened the case. In court, he stated that Damiba repeatedly demanded cash payments and that refusal was not an option he felt safe considering. According to prosecutors, this pointed to a pattern of governance that functioned more as a personal operation than a state administration. One event remains particularly sensitive: the massacre in Barcelona in 2024, where hundreds of civilians were killed during an extremist attack, remains a national trauma. The current authorities have stated that evidence links Damiba to indirect responsibility through destabilization efforts and coordination with armed actors. These claims form part of the broader case now under judicial review. In early January 2026, Burkina Faso announced it had disrupted a planned coup attempt. Several individuals were detained, including military personnel, civilians, and business figures. Among them was El Hadj Massa Sakandi. During the investigation, authorities examined Sakandi's mobile phone. They uncovered video footage recorded from inside a moving vehicle, and the footage Sakandi calmly describes building layouts, access routes, and security details in a local language. Investigators concluded the footage was reconnaissance of a site believed to be associated with President Traoré. The driver of the vehicle, a police officer named Mumini Sour, was also arrested. Financial records showed that Sakandi had received approximately $125,000, equivalent to 70 million CFA francs, from a businessman based in Côte d'Ivoire. Investigators stated that Sour assisted in transporting the funds. In return, Sakandi allegedly promised Sour a senior position within the national lottery system should the coup succeed. According to prosecutors, the plan involved eliminating the head of state, announcing a new authority, and facilitating Damiba's return from exile. Authorities say the operation failed because intelligence services had been monitoring communications for months. Phone calls, financial transfers, and surveillance material were intercepted. When arrests began, several suspects reportedly cooperated, allowing the network to be dismantled. The case took on regional significance due to the origin of some funds and the broader political context. Relations between Burkina Faso and Côte d'Ivoire have been strained since Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger withdrew from ECOWAS and formed the Alliance of Sahel States. The alliance has rejected French military involvement and strengthened ties with Russia, diverging sharply from the position of leaders such as Alassane Ouattara. Observers noted that Togo had hosted Damiba for years without taking action. Analysts suggest that growing diplomatic pressure, regional shifts, and reputational concerns made continued protection untenable. In January 2026, Togolese authorities acted quickly. Damiba was detained, presented before the Court of Appeal, and an opinion favorable to extradition was issued. Within a day, he was transferred to Burkina Faso. Upon arrival in Ouagadougou, Damiba was placed in a high-security facility. Interrogations began immediately. Investigators report that he denied wrongdoing, characterizing payments as assistance to acquaintances. Coaxed individuals contradicted this account, describing structured intelligence gathering and regular reporting. Authorities presented phone records, financial data, travel logs, and the recordings Damiba himself had made. Prosecutors say the evidence was consistent and extensive. During questioning, Damiba reportedly attempted to delay proceedings by claiming exhaustion. Investigators continued regardless. Around this time, anonymous messages circulated online, attributed to elements within Burkina Faso's intelligence community. The statements warned potential conspirators that surveillance was ongoing and that destabilization efforts would not be tolerated. As the investigation expanded, additional names emerged from military, administrative, and police institutions. Prosecutors alleged that Damiba maintained a broad information network while in exile. Despite the severity of the accusations, Damiba does not face capital punishment. As part of the extradition agreement with Togo, Burkina Faso committed not to seek the death penalty. If convicted, he faces life imprisonment on charges including high treason, conspiracy, financing terrorism, embezzlement, and money laundering. Public reaction has been divided. Some citizens argue that life imprisonment is insufficient given the scale of alleged crimes. Others emphasize the importance of respecting international commitments to maintain diplomatic credibility. Across the region, the case has prompted reflection. If a former head of state can be extradited and prosecuted, long-standing assumptions about exile and protection may no longer apply. For Burkina Faso, the proceedings represent more than a trial. They are seen by many as a test of sovereignty, accountability, and the direction the country has chosen. As the investigation continues, the broader message is clear. Political exile no longer guarantees safety. Networks built on secrecy can unravel, and in the changing landscape of the Sahel, old rules are rapidly being replaced.